In this video, we'll walk step by step through the process of assembling the various configurations for Kiwitech reels and winders, starting with the simple two-piece orbital reel and moving our way up to geared winders and the portable all-in-one 3-wire Carrypack. Kiwitech orbital reels consist of a spool and a snap-in handle. The snap-in handle consists of two pieces, the stem and the handle barrel itself. Inside the handle barrel is stored another stem should you need it. You can get spools that are bare and load them with your favorite kind of braided electric twine, or you can get them preloaded with Kiwitech twine in lengths of 656 feet or 1,320 feet, which would be a 1/4 mile. Now these reels don't come with a gate handle. You can assemble that yourself if you would like. I like to use the Zammer handle because it's low profile, it's lightweight, and it conveniently hooks into the holes on the outside rim of the spool. To install this, we're going to align it with one of the offset holes here at the center of the spool and push it into place. Now you have a fully assembled orbital reel. To remove the snap-in handle, you want to place your thumb flat against the face of the spool, grab the handle and push with your thumb while you pull out at the same time. Orbital reels can also store release hooks in the center slot. Simply push it through from one side to the other. These are used to hold your spool at the end of a run when attached to the fence or a post. To store the release hook, simply compress it and slide it back into the slot until it locks in place. Other products in the Kiwitech line include winders and reels and Carrypacks. Geared winders are a 4-to-1 geared reel to help you wind up your twine much more efficiently, while Carrypacks go a step further and give you the capability of carrying step-in posts with you while you pay out wire or while you rewind it. The assembly process for both of these is very similar. We're just swapping out certain components to match the number of strands that you want to use, whether 1, 2, or 3 strands. The Kiwitech line is modular and mostly friction fit. A few things that you'll want to have for the assembly process would be a sturdy workbench. A pair of pliers might come in handy with the rack assembly. And because it is friction fit and we're going to be hitting on parts and components, we want to use either a soft hammer, whether that's a dead blow hammer or a rubber mallet, to drive those parts into place. It's not recommended to use a harder metal hammer, but if you need to, please use a piece of wood or something to help soften the blow so that we don't damage parts. We have our 3-wire Carrypack kit right here. We're going to unbox, pull out the components so we can start the assembly process. We have all our components laid out and our tools on hand. We're going to start assembling, and we always start with the gearbox. So here's our gearbox. We have our spindle for our chuck. This is where our crank handle is going to go. So the first piece that we install is the locking tab. We want the thicker, longer part of the stem to go on first. When this spins around in the right position, it's going to catch this metal tab and prevent it from spinning. Next, we're going to take our crank handle and seat it down in that groove. We're going to use our hammer to drive it home. We want to make sure that we drive this deep enough that it clears this ring right here, because that's where our washer or our locking ring is going to sit, right on that groove. Go a little bit more. We should have the clearance there. Now we can take that ring or that locking washer and push it into that groove. All right, so we got our ring or our locking ring sitting in that groove. It's a very tight fit, so it might take you a couple times to get it set in there correctly. But that is our crank assembly. Locking tab, crank handle, locking washer. Next, we're going to assemble our chuck. So this is our chuck. This is the end that's going to go up against our gearbox. The end of this is our control for tightening and loosening the tension on each of the spools. So we want to make sure that we see metal threads sticking out past the end of our tube here. As we slide this and drive it into place, we want to make sure that we're making contact with the metal threads and not the plastic of the chuck itself. Just going to fit it on there, get it hand tight, and then again, I'm going to use our hammer. And check our clearance. You can see we still have a gap here that we need to continue driving a little bit further. Notice how the chuck is off center from the center of the gearbox. So when we set this down, we're going to align this as kind of our striking point. Again, tapping on the metal. All right, now we don't see that gap between the chuck and the gearbox. And our crank handle is spinning our chuck. And because we're using the triple wire Carrypack, we have our triple chuck in here with grooves to hold 3 different spools. If you were looking for a single or double reel, that would be your double chuck, and your single just holding 1 spool. Next, we're getting ready to install our vertical piece. If you were doing just a standard carry winder or reel, you're going to insert your handle in a vertical position at the slot facing the back of the gearbox closest to your body, aligning that handle facing forward. This is what you'd be holding on to while you wind. We're going to be building the Carrypack, so instead of the handle, we'll set this aside, we're going to be using the pedestal which holds the rack for the posts. So again, we're going to put this in this slot right here, aligning the fit so that our pedestal is facing front to back. It is oblong, it's rectangular, so we want it facing front to back, and we can drive it in place. So our pedestal is in place, vertical, facing front to back. Next, we're going to install our guide. And the guide slot is always indicated with this X, which matches the X on the guide. So to install the guide, we want the guide overhanging on the same side of the winder or the Carrypack as the chuck. So our guide is in place. If you were using just a single winder or a double winder, you would do the same process, just using the different guides to correspond to how many strands you're using. If you're assembling just a standard winder without the Carrypack, your assembly is complete at this point. You have your chuck, crank handle, guide, and instead of the pedestal, you would just have the standard carry handle. So if you're not looking for the post rack, your assembly is complete for a 1, 2, or 3 strand winder. We can set our gearbox assembly off to the side and start working on our post rack because we are building the complete system today. First step for our rack comes with a handle barrel. This is similar to a snap-in handle that you would use on an orbital reel. We just don't have our stem sticking out. We're going to use one of these 2 holes and fit it on the peg of the rack. This will slide most of the way. We can just drive it home with the hammer. This will be the handle that your left hand would hold underneath your rack. So next we need to install the locking mechanism on the rack, and the objective here is to drive this pin through our open bracket through the hole of this finger. So we're going to lock this holding mechanism in place. This is what pinches together the fingers of your post rack, keeping the post nice and secure so they're not jiggling while you're walking through the pasture or riding around. The easiest way to do this is set the rack where the finger with the loop, this loop is for your strap assembly, face this towards your body. The finger with the hole is facing away from us. The locking latch vertically with the thicker, wider part facing up and the skinny end facing down. We're going to slide that finger right into the slot. This is where our pliers come in handy if we can pinch from the outside and get that pin to move through the open hole. We got it started. I'll just tighten up my pliers here a little bit. So our pin is through. This locking mechanism folds over to reach the other finger and then locks in place when you throw the catch. Now we can combine both parts. We'll bring our gearbox assembly over here. We're going to slide our rack on top. You'll notice that the slot next to our handle has this metal spring tab. The lip of this spring tab is what catches the pedestal and prevents it from sliding off. So if we just roll the rack over and we'll slide it straight on our pedestal, you'll feel it find that slot, and as you push forward, that spring clip will lock into place. And our rack is assembled, so as we carry this, our left hand would go here. This can rest on our forearm, and we can be cranking with our right hand. Next, we can finish the assembly by adding on our extension. We're going to do that with our elbow and our guide extension. The elbow does have minor machining grooves in here. It's not a true thread, but if we slide it on and twist it clockwise as we go, it'll help lock it in place. So we're going to feed it on to the green tab on the original guide and just give it a clockwise turn as we do so. And you'll feel it start to snug up. Typically we'll want our elbow facing down. And now we can insert the green tab into the elbow, same thing, giving it a clockwise turn until it's as tight as you like. Next, we can just add the shoulder strap. So we have two clips. One can be clipped onto the loop on our rack finger, and the other can come down to the frame of the Carrypack. You can use the Carrypack without the strap, but it does help and gives you a little bit more support. With our Carrypack assembled, I'll show you how to load it with posts and spools. Posts just feed in between the fingers and the edge of the rack, making sure to straddle the fingers with any clips so that they don't bind up. And you probably want to stagger your feet as they stack as well. Once your posts are in place, you want to squeeze the fingers together, throw your latch, and lock it in place. When you're loading and unloading spools, it's important to note the twist cap on the chuck. If you spin it clockwise, it's going to expand the chuck, taking up that extra room inside the hub of the spools, tightening against it so it has a nice firm grip and controls the spin. If you back it off counterclockwise, it allows it to contract. Things are looser and spools can slide right on or right off. So I'm going to loosen our chuck and back it off. When we load spools, we want to make sure that the twine is coming off the top of the reel, going down into the guide, not coming off the bottom of the spool. So we just align the center hole with our chuck, slide it in. You'll feel it hit the grooves as it goes. We want to get this one tight up against. Again, we're making sure we're coming off the top of the spool, feeling those grooves as we go. You'll feel them slide right into place. Again, twine coming off the top of the spool. When they're properly aligned, there'll be an equal gap in between. At this point, we can tighten our chuck to the tension you want to control your spin. Once your spools are in place, you'll want to feed the twine through the guide. There's two sets of guides now. The first set has a loop for each spool. The second set is missing the inside loop. That's okay. This inside spool just runs through the first set of loops and then runs freely after that. The quickest and easiest way to remove spools from the chuck out in the field is to loosen the chuck. So we're going to back this off all the way. And then if we flip it over, place the chuck facing into the ground, we're going to apply even pressure with our knee and our hand to slide them off the chuck. The beauty with this system is that it's modular, it's portable, and it gives you the ability to leave your spools attached to the fence line while taking your winder elsewhere. So once we dump our spools, we can bring them over, we can tension our fence, hook them up to our release hook. This means that our spools can stay on our fence line while we take our winder and use it elsewhere. This Kiwitech system is completely modular, it's easy to build, and it's customizable for whatever you need. You can find these Kiwitech products at kencove.com, and be sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more fencing tips and expert advice.